What is up, guys? We are back with another episode of Mainly Celtics. Today it is just me, so probably a little bit of a brief episode. We do have a couple things to talk about as far as kind of Celtics related news. The first thing I want to talk about was obviously last or 2 weeks ago, we went pretty heavily in talking about Bill Russell. We spent most of our episode kind of talking about Bill Russell's legacy. It was just announced this week that the NBA is going to retire number six across the league. So players that currently are wearing number six, like such as LeBron, is the example that most people are using. They'll be able to keep their number until they either like switch teams or they retire. But any from going on, no other players will be allowed to wear number six. Um, I'm a big fan of this move in general. I think that Bill Russell's jersey probably should have been retired across the league a long time ago. Obviously, he doesn't have quite the same impact as Jackie Robinson as far as like breaking the color barrier for his sport. But what he does have is just his social activism and being one of the greatest players of all time, especially for his generation, like being the greatest winner in NBA history. So he's on court and off court stuff. He joins just Jackie Robinson and Wayne Gretzky as the only players in American professional sports who are retired across the league. Obviously, like I said, Jackie's was for breaking color barrier. I think Gretzky's was just for being like the greatest hockey player of all time. Not a big hockey guy, so I wouldn't know. Um, like I said, I think this is a move that came way too late. I like the idea, but I just hate when this happens. I'm trying to think of other examples I've seen recently of guys like such as like making the Hall of Fame after like the year after the guys passed away. Like it really sucks for a lot of these guys. Obviously, Bill Russell's won plenty of awards, but just I don't think you should honor guys after they're dead. Like not in that sense, but if you're going to honor someone, I would much rather see it happen when they're still living. Because in Bill Russell's case, right, like what has he done the past 5 years that was different from um, everything he's done previously in his life? Like he should have had his jersey retired for what he's done years ago. It just sucks that they waited for him to die or pass away before they did this. So that was one thing that I kind of didn't really like about it. Like I said, I do think his number should be retired, but I just wish we could have seen it retired while Bill Russell was still living. So on a little less somber note, we have uh, the first trade I believe was leaked. They said the initial talks between the Celtics and Nets. They said originally the Nets' first ask was Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. It's really hard to believe anything that's coming out of the Nets camp right now. We obviously talked about the Jaylen Brown rumors. Uh, I think Coley Mick had a great point on the Trailblazers show that if Jaylen Brown was offered, I think the deal would have been done by now. Based on what we've seen from around the league, I don't think they're going to get better value than Jaylen Brown plus like even Derek White. I know they were asking for Mark Smart originally, but there's no way they're getting more value than Jaylen Brown, who's an all-star caliber player, and Derek White, who's a solid either starter or really solid bench player. So I just think that a lot of the stuff coming in the Nets camp might be a little bit fabricated. It seems ridiculous that they would ask for Tatum and Brown. Like clearly the Celtics wouldn't do that. I don't know if that's just them trying to like start with a high like bargaining point and trying to work somewhere in the middle. But I don't know. There's a lot going on with the Nets. I don't know if we've fully talked about it, but there's also Kevin Durant once again kind of re-upped his trade request, saying that it's either him or it's the coach and GM. The owner or the governor, I guess they call them now, just basically denied or not denied that, but said that he's got his GM and his coaches back. So it's looking like Durant might get moved, but for what is the real question? They have 4 years left on the deal. I don't know how willing they're going to be just sit on it. They don't really have any of their own picks, so I really don't think they can. Um, I believe they might have a pick swap this year, but they really don't have like a ton of their own picks. So I think just holding out isn't really the best idea for them. I also think, like we said earlier, if it's true, maybe their asking price is too high. because it seems like any trade that would have involved Jaylen Brown, they should have taken it because that seems like the best they're going to get. They kind of scoffed the idea of Ayton, so I don't know. They're passing down these supposed trades. I don't know how true a lot of that stuff is, but I think the asking price may be too high for a guy that's, I believe, he's like 30, 33, 34 years old. He's starting to get up there in age, at least in his early 30s, and he's played 90 games over the past 3 years, so he's played about a full season over the past 3. So yeah, I don't know what's going on in Brooklyn. I think this could be a team that, I think I talked about it a little bit when we were doing our betting preview. This could be a team that doesn't make the playoffs at all. If all the turmoil goes crazy, this could be a team that's probably a top 6 seed, a team that's not even fighting for a playing spot if all their guys are playing and they're healthy. So yeah, that was the Kevin Durant update. And my last bit of information, or not my last bit, but I also don't believe we talked about the Celtics signing Noah Vonleh. He's a guy should help their front court depth a little bit if he does make camp, or I guess they signed him to a preseason deal if he does make camp. Just once again, I like these kind of moves, just kind of seeing what fits. Hoping we can find another guy, maybe be that third center. Other than that, though, we don't really there hasn't really been a ton of basketball related news. The schedule, I believe, is probably going to be leaking anytime now. I know they've talked about it. I saw a tweet by, I believe, Gary Washburn. I believe it was Gary Washburn. He tweeted that the Celtics are going to start with a home game this year. That's probably going to be against, I would assume, probably the Warriors, maybe the 76ers or the Heat. They also announced the Christmas Day slate, which does have the Celtics lined up against the Milwaukee Bucks. So that should be a good matchup. That should be exciting to see. I'm glad the Celtics, it's always nice to see the Celtics playing on Christmas Day. So I'm going to be excited for that. We will definitely keep you updated when the schedule comes out. Probably a break tomorrow morning right after this show comes out. But for right now, that's all the news that we have. So thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, a short episode this week, but hopefully next week we'll be back with a little bit longer episode. Have Emery back, grade my fantasy team for my keeper league this year. So until then, see you guys next week.